How do I hold my arms? So they always look the same. I need a kitty.
Imaginary kitty.
Listen, man, the idea is not to get me locked up the first year. That comes later, when we're filming it.
And you've been diagnosed.
And you've been diagnosed. Hi, I'm Michael Joy. Welcome to another episode of Absolute Joy. This one is a little bit of a business talk. Anna was asking the other day, she said, how did you actually start your first business? And it's pretty simple. However, looking back at it, I recognize that there were a few uncommon things that I was interested that my compadres were not. And it may have to do with that I was in art school and there was not a lot of entrepreneurial thinking, which is ironic because just by definition in my mind, every artist is desiring an entrepreneurial lifestyle, meaning the best parts of entrepreneurialism. Freedom, no one breathing down your neck, creating what you want to create, the dream identifiers of being an artist. But this is how I did it. And so what I did was, I hate to sound like the old guy, but when I was doing this, there was not the internet, right? Look, if you watch this channel, you know that I'm old, okay? I was using traditional resources, and at the time it was the SBA, Small Business Administration, and they had workshops. And I went to a workshop about how to start my own business, and they had what was called the SCORE program, Service Corps of Retired Executives. And these were nice retired people who were literally there as volunteers to help you get started on things or to talk to you about business concepts and just kind of listen and be supportive and give some structure. They had already had their successful careers and it was their pay it forward type of idea. So what I did is I took a workshop, and by the middle of the workshop I had learned, first thing I should do is file articles of incorporation. I thought that this sort of thing required lawyers and stuff like that. And although I have lawyers do that now for different reasons, at the time I always filled out my own articles of incorporation. It's just a simple form. It's not a big deal in Illinois, and you pay a fee. And there you go, you're incorporated. And you can then get your EIN, your employer identification number, which is basically the social security number for your business, which allows you to open bank accounts and begin to separate your funds. I'll get back into the structure of that. I'm a junior and I'm incorporated for no reason, really, other than I thought that if I learn what the structure of a small corporation does, by the time I need it, I'll be ahead of the curve. And so I also started learning about accounting, and not heavy accounting, but I shortly after I graduated, I got QuickBooks, not because I had a lot of money to manage, but because I needed to learn the software for different reasons. But before I left art school, I got ahead of myself. Here's what got me going in art school. I liked making molds in the ceramics department, and I started having professors ask me to make molds for them, and they would pay me per mold section, $10 or something like that. It was pretty much student extortion. I didn't really care. I just was happy to have the work. I felt validated, and I thought, I could make a job of this because I was very fast at it. I thought, hey, if I made $10 an hour making a mold, I'd rather make $10 an hour doing that than $10 an hour or less painting a house or something of that nature. Now, at the time, $10 an hour was fine. So it got me thinking of the business. Then I thought, well, what else do I need as a business owner? I'm like, oh, crud, I need a place to have the business. And so art school dreams are to have a loft. And I began looking for a loft in my junior year through senior year, was all looking for lofts. And I had no idea about how to find real estate or talk to a real estate person, and really what real estate person was going to help a kid rent a loft. I mean, it just didn't add up. That was more of a jungle expedition where you got to know somebody that knows somebody and start asking your friends, hey, when you move out of that building, is that space going to be available? Because it was all pirate renting. Nothing was legal. These buildings were not zoned for residential. They were all urban industrial lofts at the time in Chicago on the South Side or in Printers Row. It's all very expensive now. My first business, when I graduated, I didn't have a loft yet. It's not like it went smooth. I was working in the basement of my apartment. Working in basements was the beginning of a long-standing theme for me of having basements, and why I think I have a type of business claustrophobia. And now every space that I'm in, I desire large, vast amounts of space because I spent some time in some small spaces and I just wanted the exact opposite. When the Lorelei Loft became available, that was like the go switch for me. I was able to move out of my college apartment and begin then setting up a business. Now, what that meant was I got to build some tables, I got to build a bedroom, we got to change a bathroom, we had to remodel the loft. It didn't mean that all of a sudden I had customers and I was ready to go. I was surviving and discovering customers, I got my words tangled up there. I was getting customers from the job board at the Art Institute, and it was a physical bulletin board. There was no database. You just walked in there every week. You go up to the 4th or 5th floor of the Champlain building. They would have jobs posted. per category. And I started getting those jobs and making the calls. And then even on the jobs that I didn't know how to do, I would ask my friend if they knew how to do it. And I said, look, I'll make the calls for you. You're terrible on the phone. I'm better on the phone. And then we'll split some of the job. And I started going that way. And I've said this before in another thing. I would make the call. Hi, I'm Michael Joy. I work with a group of alumni from the Art Institute, and I noticed your job posting on the board. I have a friend of mine that's very good at this type of business, and in our organization that we're working on, I'm the one that actually makes the phone calls. And if you can tell me about your job, hopefully we'll be able to help you, if it's not me personally. And it went something like that. And so I would do my cold calls, and they were very nerve-wracking for me. I was not like call somebody type, but now I had this loft. I needed to buy 2x4s. I needed to pay rent. I had a lot of pressure to actually make it happen. The other thing that I learned about in my first business was that I was really addicted to starting projects but not finishing projects. And it wasn't until I was in business that I learned to finish projects was just as rewarding, because that's when I got paid. I mean, simple as that. As a kid, I would start, never finish. And as a business person, finishing became the satisfying part because it was closure. It represented room to start something new. That's how my business started. It was called Mold Making and Design. And I got jobs for Disney off the job board. I got jobs for the Playboy Mansion. I got jobs for, it led to the Oscar, MTV. This was all off of a college job board. And what happened is that I did one job successfully, and it led to another. It led to another. It led to another. And that's what it was. If I had just looked at it like, oh, that's a really crappy job. Well, I happened to needed the crappy job, but if I had over-evaluated it at that point, it wouldn't have led to the next step. What I wish I had learned in business, that's a little bit of another story. I'll tell you that in a second. Thanks for joining.